this spring right now, and it snowed. So like, it's like wow. I mean, it snowed last night morning, early morning. I'm gonna save because that was an important section for them also. All right. So it'll be a second, and we will get back to Stefan, and when we go back to me, of course, we keep going on the continuation of the route. So, 1 second. So, of course, we're back to me. And we continue, and we go on to Viridian City. Alright, so once we get in here, we're getting in here practically on frantic, on kind of, on the behalf of Spleefa. So, everybody, we're about to go into the Pokemon Center. Right before we're about to get there and we're about to go into the Pokemon Center, they're like, everybody, they're like, you know what I mean? They're like, we should get Spleefa healed first. And of course, we go in to go get her healed. And the nurse, we see the nurse, and the nurse is like, oh, what happened? Da, da, da. And then, of course, this scene ends up happening. She says and speaks to her, of course. She's like, first you should restore your Pokemon to full health, of course. And then she's like, your Pokemon have been healed to perfect health. If your Pokemon's energy, HP is down, please come see us. If you're planning to go far in the field, you should buy some potions. The Pokemon Mart. We hope you excel. Now, usually that's not the first thing that you see when you first go down, but that'll pop up in another scenario, okay? So I'm saving this for Spleefa because it was a vital time that happened and everything, okay? So that ends up happening, and of course, I might as well move her right here because Spot's right here watching this old man again, and Swinda's right here sitting with her, and the other grandsons are just around the table. Okay. Now, of course, in that instance, when they all go over there, I get my turn to get my Pokemon healed also. Now, I just did it just like that, just to make it look not perfect, okay? You get the aspect of what happens. Now you know and knowfully know how much development I've put to make this happen. Like cutscenes, you mean, all that. Okay. Now, first and foremost, of course, get their Pokemon healed, and then, of course, Daz. It's like, what did we come here for besides that? You know what I mean? And then, well, Maz is like, what did we come for? It was Maz, not Daz. Maz says, what did we come here for? And of course, Kaz is like, for the professor, of course. And then everybody's like, oh yeah, right, blah, blah, blah. Like, come on, Stefan, let's go. Go to the computer. So, of course, we boot up the PC. Of course, we go to someone's PC. Now, we find out the storage system is open and all that and everything. And we try to click into it, but we can't. Okay, so, of course, we're like what? You know what I mean? We're just sitting there and we're just like, what? What's wrong? Like, why is everything not going right? Of course, the game our thing pressed the button again. So everybody's like, why isn't it working at the moment? And then it comes into our minds by Spalifa, and she's like, well, of course we're supposed to call the professor. And then everybody looks at her smartly because, everybody's in there and they know. Like, they know who the professor is in here in the Pokemon Center, but everybody in the the grandchildren, they looking at her smart like grandpa. And then everybody else's attention is caught to them even more because professor's their grandpa. Well, great grandpa. But they call him grandpa still. Okay? So boom, the professor secretly doesn't like being called great grandpa. He's that type of hip. Like he's a gangster professor. And he doesn't want to be called old. So of course they're like, yeah, go to Professor Oak's PC and call the lab. And of course, we go to Professor Oak's PC, go through the Pokédex rating system. Of course, would you like to have the Pokédex rated? Yes. And then, of course, the amount of progress is made. Pokédex is 4 Pokemon seen, 3 Pokemon owned. Like, yay. And then Professor Oak's rating pops in. And of course, in the instant of him saying all that, you still have lots to do. Now, it says, that ends up happening, and then of course it calls the lab. So it's, you know what I mean? So let's go look for Pokemon, and dun dun dun. You know what I mean? That happens. Dun, dun, dun. And as soon as it says Pokemon, once it's like the secret word for the lab. As soon as after the Pokemon screen pops up, as soon as it says Pokemon with the exclamation point, that's the secret code for the PC. It calls the lab. So of course, calls the lab, and boom, of course, the professor's there, and he's like, okay, he's like, thank goodness you guys are here. He's like, yes, of course we got through it, and everything, and sadly, Spleefa, she went down. She lost her first wild battle, and the professor's like, how disappointing, but. He's just like, he still looks and gives, like, she looks down, she looks sad, and he's just like, he knows, like, this is his granddaughter. He's like, I gotta cheer her up. So he's like, I hope that you learned from it, though. I'm still proud of you, and I'm still looking forward to you and Leafa growing. And she's like, yes, we will. You know what I mean? Blah blah. And of course, Splenda, she hops in, and she's like, Grandpa, I end up after Sweefa went down, I end up hopping in what's Splendid, and I took down the Pidgey. I helped her out. And of course, Professor's like, great. Like, I mean, he's like, excellent. That's great news. You all should help each other out, in emergencies like that, because you all have to work together. You all need to work together. And then, boom, all that concept ends up popping in. So, of course, he tells us, now he's like, okay, back to it. Stefan, I need you to access to the PC again. And of course, this time, he's somehow talking through the PC in the top corner. And everybody's wondering about how that happened, in the intro. I should have said that in the first place, because he's not holographically next to us this time, because Alakazam's still recovering. So he's like telling us that next also. So everybody's like wondering, like, how'd you run the computer this time? Like, or he's like, oh yeah, well I had this feature that you can be on the computer and you can talk. I used to do it and talk to Ash. Everybody's like wondering, like, who's Ash? And, you know what I mean? And so it gives Ash shine, and of course everybody's like, okay, like he tells us, he's one of my trusted, Pokemon trainers of research, and boom. And then he was just like, Ash, I remember the first time when he had Pikachu. And then it just shows him with Pikachu, you know, a little scene and all that. And he's like, oh yeah, I gotta remember though. We gotta get back to it. He's like, Stefan, I need you to go to the PC, of course. And, you know what I mean? Or it could be like, you know, he can ask like, what's going on and what's happening with everybody. And of course, Splifa, she answers and tells, you know, everybody tells about what happened to Splifa. He can go in that scenario, or he can just tell me to access the PC. But I feel like he should tell me to access the PC after everybody got the conversation out about what happened to Splifa and how Splenda, she says she stepped up. Okay, so after all that, I really feel that that's how the conversation should go. So after, you know, the instance and the incident that's been spoke about what happened to Splifa, he tells me to access the PC after Splenda's done talking, bragging that she helped. And of course I access the PC and get into the Source Center system, and he's like, I'm going to do screen monitoring to watch it with you. So of course he's watching it with us, and of course he tells me, he's like, go to deposit your Pokemon. So of course I deposit it on, and he's like, you know, he's like, you ready to deposit wings, mangs, and fangs? And I'm like, yes. You know, then I tell him like, but professor, there's like interesting, like there's interest. We had like I had a battle with them three, and an interesting turn of events ended up happening. And the professor is like, what was it? And of course, you know, he wonders, and then he wonders about it. But then like I'm about to explain to him, and he's like, Kaz is like, no need to explain. And then of course I'm like, why? Like I look at him smart, like why? Why don't I need to explain to the professor? And he's like, Grandpa, I have it recorded on, you know, the video on my Pokédex. I'll send you the information, of course. And the professor's like, all right, that's great. It's great news. Da da da. And then of course he's like, yeah, I'll send you the information next to you. He's like, okay. He's like, just kind of cool, you know, all that. So the professor's like, yeah, there's a link, like there's a slot next to the PC that you can link your Pokédex to, and you can send me the information. And of course, Kaz is like, cool, I'll do that. So then, of course, Kaz is like, okay, I'll send it after, you know, he's like, okay, Grandpa, I'll send it after we do, you know, you're done with Stefan. And I'm like, okay. So, boom. Of course, he's like, all right, back to me. He's like, okay, deposit, you know, could you ready to send wings, mings, and fangs? Or mings, said fangs. Getting too excited. So he's like, yeah, send them, of course. And of course, I do. I send them to the lab. So I send wings first, of course. And then I send mangs. And then I send mings. Okay? Send them all in the periodic order that it is. Okay? Now I'm going to the move Pokemon part because it will be in the PC much easier. So of course they're there and they're sent to the lab. And in the instance, which is kind of cool if it was